Pirunam Apaya Prado Parapaya Kantasya Hitustato Ritani Patitascha Piravaruchan Ishuntakasyantaka Piram Vayatiya Svayogini Vahas Tasya Prabhu Bhairavo Vishvasmin Paranadikrit Vijayate Vijnana Rupa. Once more. Pirunam Apaya Prabhu Bhavapaya Kantasya Hitustato Ritani Pratitascha Piravaruchan Ishuntaka Syantaka Piram Vayatiya Svayogini Vahas Tasya Prabhu Bhairavo Vishvasmin Paranadikrit Vijayate Vijnana Rupa. Good. Slowly. Let me first clarify something about the Mangala Shloka, because the question has rightly been asked. Mangala verse or benedictory verse or invocation verse is of course only composed by a human author. So it's not to be expected by the Tantra itself, which is a revelation by Shiva. So it's only the human author who invokes the deity and the benediction and so on and so on. So this is the Mangala verse by the commentator Kshemaraja of the 11th century to his fragmentary commentary on the Vijñāna Bhairava. Just to clarify this question, because Shiva doesn't need to invoke himself, he is already revealing. Then before we come to the text, and a few practical things to be clarified. First of all, about the books. There was a little confusion because those books which were meant for the group, they were sold, and so now there's nothing left of them. But some copies of this version are available, and I would say you please get hold of them, and all the versions will be useful. We will look at them critically, but still every version contains something which the other does not contain. So we can always combine it and compare and so on. So I recommend you also buy this copy. It's no harm, and you can use them together. Then I want to remind you at the beginning, we are at the beginning not only of a text study but of a retreat, that you please try to keep silence also at meal times and try to build up that atmosphere of silence. I think this place is ideally suited and people are used to silence. And even those of you who want to do a full retreat, they can get the label silence and they can be undisturbed. But we should create that atmosphere in which that awareness, that concentration is possible. Then we are now trying to learn the recitation of the Tantra itself. Now I must say this is not a traditional Kashmiri tune. The Kashmiris have different tunes for reciting their stotras. We will hear that and we will do some ourselves. But this is a simple composition of the verses which help us, all of us, to absorb the text in its original, whether you understand Sanskrit or not, but it has its own effect. So we will try, with the help of Patricia, to learn this composition, and then we come to the beginning of the Tantra itself. Can this be a little? So open the text. The first student is already musical student. So in between, since this is a dialogue, of course there is Shri Devi Uvacha, the Devi spoke, and then Shri Bhairava Uvacha, so that I will just say it, but then the verses we will sing them, and since some are it's a confirmation. Some are half verses, so then we have to complete the verses, and we will first do, I think, only the first one, the very first, yeah. Shrutam Deva. Shrutam Deva, only the first verse means first two lines. Sa. Shrutam Deva Maya Sarvam Rudrayamala Samphavam Trikapitamasishena Saratsara Vipagasha. Again. Shrutam Deva Maya Sarvam Rudrayamala Samphavam Trikabhidamasishena Saratsara Vipagasha. Once more. Shrutam Deva Maya Sarvam Rudrayamala Samphavam Trikabhidam Ashishena Saratsara Vipagasha. Now we sing up to verse 4, and you just try to listen and then to join when you can. Adyapita nivrito me sanshaya parameshvara kim rupam tattvato deva Shabdarashi Kalamayam Kim Vanavatma Pedena Bhairavi Bhairava Krito Vichiropeta Pinamba Kimba Shakti Trayatmakam Nada Bindo Mayam Vapi Kim Chandrata Virotika Chakraruta Anachkamba Kimva Shakti Svarupakam. So now you've got it in your ear, and then we will slowly be able to recite it together. Shri Devi Uvacha, the goddess spoke. And in the morning, we have talked about revelation as a dialogue between Bhairava and Bhairavi, Shiva and Devi. And there is a whole of reflection on this non-dual relationship between Shiva and Shakti. And not in this commentary, but in the commentary on the Bhadrishika Tantra, Abhinavagupta says, and those of you who know Sanskrit, Uvacha, spoke, can be in the first person or in the third person. I said, and she said. And then he plays with this meaning that it is not a third person. The Devi is not a third person, but she is that I, that Aham, who is not different from Shiva. Of course, that will come, the whole text will give us the relationship between Bhairava and Bhairavi and Devi and Shiva. But the Sanskrit grammar itself already hints that there is no third person. Devi is not somebody else. Shiva is not somebody else. They are not third persons. You know, what our problem with God, when we speak about God in a dualistic context, that God is a he, and a she anyhow, mostly it's a he. So it's a third person. But here the whole awareness is there that God, or the Devi or Shakti, is the first person. And this first person, so immediately it puts you into the mood of Advaita, of that non-dual approach to the divinity, which is, as the Mangala Shloka has already said, it's consciousness. Who is Bhairava? Is Vijnana. Bhairava is consciousness. And consciousness is never something away from our own consciousness. So this is just a hint at this non-dualistic understanding. Now we will do, I don't want to hurry with the text at all, but still I think this first section, which is dialogue between Devi and Bhairava, we will not go into too great detail. I will explain you why. She says, "O Lord, O God." I translate God only Deva. When the text says Deva, then I translate God. Otherwise, Isha or Ishvara, whatever, Lord. I have heard the essence of the Trika school of thought in its entirety, which has originated from the Rudrayamala Tantra. And in the morning I said something about this Rudrayamala, which, as one scholar has said, that in closer inspection, it always vanishes from sight. You are trying to find out what is this Rudrayamala, and it vanishes. Or there's another Rudrayamala which is published and which has nothing to do with this. It's only the title is the same. Now the Devi starts by saying, I have heard this whole revelation which comes out or belongs to the Rudrayamala, whatever the Rudrayamala may be, imaginary or real Tantra, a very massive text supposed to be. First of all, in the morning we also say that hearing the oral tradition is more important than the written in the Indian tradition. So learning, understanding is always connected with hearing. You have heard, not you have read. So reading is a secondary thing, but hearing. Any one of you who has read the Upanishads, it's the same situation. There is a dialogue between guru and disciple, and the disciple wants to learn about the Atman, about Brahman, and so on. And first the guru asks him, what have you heard? What have you studied? What have you learned? And then the disciple says, oh, I've learned all these disciplines, it may be grammar and astronomy and astrology and medicine, all this. And then the guru says, have you also learned that by knowing which everything else is known? This is the Upanishad. This is a tremendous statement. But you have learned so many things, but that by knowing which everything else becomes known. This is Upanishad. So it's also in dialogue form. And here, the Devi, she has heard about so many Tantras which are coming out from the Rudrayamala or Trika Bheda. Now, these are different tantric schools. The Trika, of course, Trika has become the overall name of what we call Kashmir Śaivism. So Trika is more correct. It's the triadic school which comprises the three principles, Shiva, Shakti, and Nara, and the three energies, three Shaktis. So that will come again and again. I'm not going into the whole theology now. But Trika is definitely, this belongs also to the Trika school of Tantra. So the so-called Kashmir Śaivism tantric streams which have flown together into one great synthetic tradition. Trika Bheda Asheshena completely. Along with its subdivisions, Saratsara Vibhagata. So the Devi comes in the role of a disciple to Bhairava, and she says what she has already studied, what she has already known. And yet, Adya apina nivrito me samshaya parameshvara. And yet, O great Lord, my doubts are even not cleared, even today. Now, I give importance to the word today, Adya. See, revelation is, we think it's something of the past, and it is very ancient and so on. But this revelation of what is consciousness, it is in the present. It is now. And this word Adya, today, it comes in the very beginning and it comes at the very end. So there is a today, the today of the Devi asking questions, and then the today of her, all her questions being fulfilled, all her doubts being cleared, and she, in the end, but I don't want, like in a good novel, I shouldn't tell you the conclusion. In the end, she embraces Shiva, she becomes one with Shiva. That is another Adya, another today. So even today, she says, my doubts are not cleared. But she gives a proof of her deep knowledge of the Tantras, because she gives a whole list of very technical concepts of the Tantras. So she has definitely a deep knowledge of the Tantras. But how come that her doubts are not yet cleared? Because there's still the difference between the theoretical knowledge and the practical experience. And that comes very clear in the dialogue, because what she wants is not another explanation of how many energies and so on, but the experience. To realize what she already knows. And this is why we are in such a wonderful, if we place ourselves in the spirit of the Tantra, that we are coming here as disciples. And we have already read, you have read so many books on Tantra, on Kundalini, and this and that, and still there's something lacking. Otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here. And this is true. See, we have read so many things, but still there's some confusion in our mind. Why there's so many contradictory statements in the Tantras, which is also true. But how to come to that experience, as the Upanishad says, by which all these doubts get cleared. But she, as the disciple in the Upanishad, she describes whatever she knows. Or she gives a list, let us say. She gives a list. But she asks a question, or several questions. Now, verses 2, 3, and 4 we have already recited. O God, what is in reality the essential nature which consists of the energies of the collection of letters? Now, Tatoto Deva, Shabda Rashi Kalamayam. Now these are very highly technical terms in Tantra. You know that especially in Kashmir Śaivism, but all Tantras are very much connected with the word, with language. Because language and sound are coextensive with the universe. Universe would not exist without sound, without the word. And there are again two aspects, and Shiva is also called Shabdarashi. Means he is the collective whole of sound or of words. See, whatever sounds, whatever languages there are in the universe, that whole collection is an aspect of Shiva, Shabdarashi, a technical term in Tantra. Then there is another technical term, Navatma Bheda, the ninefold division. Now, ninefold division can refer to either 9 tattvas, 9 elements in the scale of the universal cosmic development from the earth up to Shiva. There are 36 tattvas, so 9 tattvas out of these 36 from Prakriti to Shiva. Or it refers, Navatma Bheda refers also to a ninefold mantra. Mantra which consists of 9 letters. So all this is given in the book, and I don't need to. Intentionally, I'm not going into these technicalities, because most of these tantric terms will come again in the course of the text. Here they are only in the form of the Devi's question. Navatma Bheda, Trishura Bheda, this is another tantric school, the school of Bhairava, three-headed Bhairava. Trishira Bheda, and there is one Tantra, Trishira Tantra. So she is confused, as when we are reading so many Tantras, and we think, oh my God, how to bring a unity, how to bring a consistency in all these various concepts and various concepts and experiences and so on. So Trishira Bheda is another tantric school, and how does it consist of three energies? Three energies are in the Trika school. On the one hand, I'm not supposed to get up now, but I think you know all this. The three levels of Shakti, Para, Parapara, and Apara. Para is the supreme, the transcendent. Parapara is transcendent, come immanent. And Apara is the immanent or the lower energy. All these three energies, they form what is called Trika. Or the other threefold division of Shakti is Ichcha Jnana Kriya, the energy of will, knowledge, and activity. So these are the threefold divisions of Shaktis. Shakti Trayatmakam. Now she comes to concepts which we are mostly familiar with from Kundalini Yoga. Well, the word Kundalini doesn't come here, so I don't want to introduce terms which are not coming in the text itself. Nada Bindu, Chandrartha Nirodhika. And all this chakra rudha, in the course of rising through the chakras, there are these stages, there are these kalas. And of course, the text will come with the practical part to this rising of the energy. So there are these elements, Nada, Bindu, and Chandrartha, the half moon, Bindu, and Nirodhika. Now, Nirodhika is a little difficult term in yogic literature. It has been often misunderstood, but it will come again. It means literally the one who obstructs. So why should she obstruct? When the energy is rising, there is a point which is very difficult to cross, and that is called Nirodhika, which is an obstructing energy, an obstructing point. But this has two aspects. For the yogi who is rising from below, it blocks him at a certain point, and it's very difficult to pass that blockage, that Nirodhika. But for the yogi who is already at the higher level, it stops him from falling down. So it prevents him from going down to the lower level again. So it's a very consoling double meaning of the same word, Nirodhika or Nirodhika. But here it's just only all these terms are coming because she is describing what she has known, what she has. Chakraruda, that rising of through the energy centers. And then Anachka is another very difficult technical term, means a vowel-less sound, which is a mantric, belongs to the mantric practice, which will come in the text. Kimva Shakti Svarupakam. Now, what is the essential nature of energy? So you will be saying, well, she is the Shakti. Why she is asking about her own nature? Actually, she is asking about her own nature. But that is also all what we can do. When we are asking, we are also asking about our own true nature. So, which, according to the philosophy of the school, it is a matter of recognition of your own nature, which is already there. So it's not something else. So she is asking about her own nature. Shakti Swarupakam. Now Kshemaraja gives a beautiful commentary here, but I am only, because of lack of time, I am not translating it for you because we are eager to come to the actually part of the dharanas. But whoever is interested and who knows a little Sanskrit, I am ready to sit with you to look at this commentary. He describes actually this ascent through the chakras up to Sambanana, Unmana. He describes this whole process and all the other terms. Now, so this is up to verse 4. Then we can recite the whole question of the Devi up to 6ab, 5, 6, and 7, half of 7. Para paraya sakalam aparaya shava puna paraya yati tatvatsyat paratvan tatvirutyate nahivana vipedena Deha Bhedena Vapavit Paratvam Nishkalatvena Sakalatvena Vapavit Prasadam Kuru Menata Nishesham Chinti Samshayam. Only up to here. The question. So we have already said that these three energies, three Shaktis, para, and apara. So she refers to that. But she is asking that question, how the transcendent energy is reconcilable, compatible with the immanent energy. So this is a very important question, because how to connect transcendence with immanence. And of course, apara is often translated as the lower, but the word low has a negative connotation, which is not meant here. Because without the apara Shakti, we would not exist. Without immanence, without this reality, we would not exist. The only question is how to connect with the para. So this question, what is the form of the transcendent and immanent Shakti and of the immanent energy with parts, and if the transcendent energy is the same or whether it is incompatible with the immanent energy. So this is a very real question, because the whole both theory and practice depends on how do we connect our apara level with the para level. So this is a very relevant question. Because the supreme level of whether of energy of Shiva, it means is partless. Anything which is created, anything which is manifested has parts. And that is another meaning of kala. That root kal and kala is, those who know a little Sanskrit, is very multiple, has many multiple meanings. Anything which is manifest consists of parts. But the ultimate, the transcendent, is nishkala, is partless. And Kshemarata says, Kalana Shunyatvena, because the ultimate reality is void of any partition or devoid of any fragmentation. It is whole, akala. And then, and here I must translate the sentence which Kshemarata introduces the end of the question of the Devi. And he says, Samvit Devi Swam Sampurna Vijñāna Bhairava Rupatam Avivikshur Aha. The goddess consciousness herself, she is asking about, desirous to know her own nature, which is of the fullness of divine consciousness. Sampurna Vijñāna Bhairava Rupatam. So here you have the name, the title of the text, Vijñāna Bhairava Rupatam. That is the essence of the goddess consciousness, is that fullness of Bhairava consciousness. So it seems a tautology. She's asking about her very own self. She is already the goddess consciousness, and but this is the whole beauty of Advaita, whole beauty of non-dualism. You are ultimately asking about the very nature, the very reality, which is already that fullness of consciousness. But in that last phrase, it's very moving. The dialogue has a kind of human touch, I would say, when she says, Prasadam kurumenata nishesham chindi samshayam. Be graceful to me, O Lord. Give me grace, be kind to me, and destroy all my doubts. So this prasadam kurumenata, it hints also at the whole tradition in this Kashmir Śaivism, that it is a matter of grace. It's not a matter you're reading so many Tantras and knowing so much of Sanskrit and all that, but unless you get that prasada or that Shaktipata, as I said in the beginning, all this reading and all this knowledge will not lead you anywhere. And that is why it is only Bhairava himself who can lead her to that fullness. Bhairava uvacha. Now we have a half verse, but we can. Should we start with the first line? Sadhu, sadhu. Like we do the first line, yes. Or second line. We can start from Prasadam Kuru Me Natha and then continue. Start from Prasadam Kuru Me Natha. Prasadam Kuru Me Natha Nishesham Chindisam Shayam Sadhu sadhu tvaya prishtam Tantra saramidam priye Gohaniyatam patre Tatapi katayamiti Yat kinchit sakalam rupam Bhairavasya prakirtitam Tattasara taya devi Vijñāna Shakrajalavat Maya svapnopanam chaiva Kantava nagara pramam Dhyanatam pranta bhutinam Kriyatam bharavatinam Kevalam varnitam pumsam Vikalpa nihitatmanam Tattvato navatma sau Shabdarashir na Bhairava Nachasau Trishiro Deva Nacha Shakti Trayatmaka. Now Bhairava answers. The beginning of the answer. Sadhu, sadhu. Very well, dear one. And he often, during the revelation, he again and again addresses the dear one. So dialogue means a relationship, also a relationship of love, of course. Dear one. And then he describes you with the beautiful eyes, you with the beautiful hips, and so on. Sorry. So he admits, very good, oh dear one, your questions concern the essence of the Tantras. Tantra Sara. So she knows, and he acknowledges that she knows. And yet, as a good guru, it is this guru-disciple relationship. What he first has to do is to destroy all her concepts. Destroy all her imagination, all her conceptions, She has all these things which she has heard and which she has studied and which she has... But first, forget it. Forget it. And any good guru, he does this. You come with so many ideas in your mind and then he said, forget it. You have to start again from somewhere. But still, he admits that she knows. Your question concerns the essence of the Tantras. And then, this is a typical tantric statement, guhaniyatamam patre. This is a very secret, great secret. So the famous secrecy of the Tantras, which is, of course, connected with the subtlety of these experiences. It is so misunderstood why the Tantras are secret. But it requires such a subtle understanding, practice, and going deeper and deeper. So it's not something which you can sorry to say, Bhagavad Gita you can read and you can understand, and it's not to be not so secret. I mean, there are also secret things in the Gita, I don't mind that. But the Tantras are really not easy, and they require initiation, practice, and so on and so on. And grace, Shakti Pata. So Guhaniya, they are most secret. And yet, he makes a concession, and yet I'm going to reveal it to you. After all, she is the Shakti. Tatapi katayami te. And we are also recipients of that secret if we place ourselves in the role of the Devi as a disciple. Because only in the role of a disciple you can receive. Katayami te. And then he goes on destroying all the concepts which he has learned from the Tantras. Say this is all nonsense, this is all... So whatever is known as the composite form of Bhairava, that of goddess, is deceptive like magic because it has no essence. What is composite form of Bhairava? See, the whole, whatever images we have of God, whether mental or physical, they are not the real thing. So they are deceptive. Like magic means Indrajala. Chakrajala, yeah. But that's a typical word for magic, is the net of Indra. So these conceptual, composite forms, the mental or physical, they are not the real thing. They have no essence. This is only Maya, like a dream. It's imaginary, like the city of the Gandharvas in the sky. This is a typical, Sanskrit literature and philosophy has a few typical examples of unreal things. One unreal thing is the Gandharvas, they are heavenly musicians and they have a city in the sky. So it is something, very imaginative and so on. It's nothing very real. So all these concepts we have of God, they are, after all based on imagination. And especially the city of the Gandharva, it is something imaginative. But then he says, well, dhyanartam pranta buddhinam kriyadambara. The description of this form of Bhairava is given to those people whose mind is confused. Well, as we say, people who don't have any highly developed spirituality, let them go to the temple and worship and do this puja and do this and that. It's good for them. It may not be the essence of the divinity, but let them do it. Pranta buddhinam, whose mind is confused. For their meditation, dhyanartham. Let them meditate on those images and on those conceptions and so on. Those who are distracted by worldly activities, kriya dambara vartinam. Now, this is a very realistic description of whether at the time of the Tantra, which was how many centuries ago, and even now, we get so much distracted by activities and by kriya dambara vartinam. Kevalam varnitam pumsam vikalpa nihatatmanam. Yes. And these images of the divine, these imaginations they are good for those who are distracted by thoughts and by distractions, by activities, and so many distractions. So they need also something to hold on. And to meditate on something, it's better to put a murti and meditate on that murti than to do nothing. And to concentrate on the form of the divine in some external and part with parts. So the sakala rupa. And whereas the real essence of the divine is nishkala, is partless. And now comes a whole what in Western terms we would call negative theology, that you have to deny everything of the divine. You cannot affirm anything. So he goes on denying what the Devi has described, what she knows. So he denies everything. It is not this, it is in Upanishads, neti neti. Tatutu nanavatma. He denies all these concepts which he has enumerated. The Bhairava is neither ninefold, nor does he consist of the multitude of letters, Saptarashi. He is neither three-headed God, nor does he possess three energies. How can he deny that? But he has to deny, first of all, all the concepts which the Devi has in her mind. First he has to wipe them clear. I must go one step back because here Kshemarāja has such a beautiful explanation of the secrecy of the Tantras. To verse 8, he says, because of this extreme secrecy, tata atirahasyatvat guhaniyatvam, it is to be hidden, it is not to be revealed. Anuttama pada samavesha onmukhyena yogyaya. It can be revealed only to those who are capable, who are directed towards immersing themselves or getting absorbed in the ultimate reality. Anuttama pada, and the state of the ultimate. Samavesha onmukhyena yogya. So those can receive that revelation, that secret, who are capable of being directed to being absorbed in the state of the Absolute. Anuttama pada samavesha onmukhya. Now, samavesha, we know, is very high. It is higher than samadhi. In Kashmir Śaivism, it is the total absorption in the Absolute, in the divine. So those are worthy to receive that secret yoga. And here Kshemarāja says on these words 11 and 12, Svatma Bhairava eva paramarthato akatyo api. That supreme reality of Bhairava, who is one's very own self, is unspeakable, akatya. It cannot be described. It's indescribable. Svatma Bhairava, the Bhairava who is one's own self. He is akatya. He cannot be described. And that is why all this negation. Yakatamchit kalpana, and he cannot be an object of imagination, of our projections, and all the images we have of the divine reality. So now no, we cannot complete that. That introductory part of the dialogue is very important. Of course, you are all very eager to come to the practice part, but it's very important as the background of the practice part. Because unless you have this negative attitude to all concepts which we have, all these concepts and imaginations which we have of the divine, and plus that will come tomorrow morning, what is the meaning of Shakti? Because the whole thing is based on Shakti. And so we will also recite some of those Shakti shlokas, but that will come tomorrow morning. And this is so he has just started denying all those concepts which the Devi has told him what she knows. So he can just start denying that. So from tomorrow we will do from 12 to 20, at least 23. And then so you have to be a little patient until we reach the point of the dharanas. But it's important to have that whole background and to see how these Tantras were so revolutionary. See, they're not just sticking to conventional concepts, but they are ready to deny, to destroy whatever concepts we have. And that is the basis of emptying our mind, as my guru used to say, unminding your mind. You have to unmind your mind, because all these are mental constructs, including the Devi herself, who has all these mental images. And we are also full of them. So I think for today this was the introduction. And then I think questions will come once we get into the practical part, and it's maybe too early for questions, but otherwise I'm ready if you have any important question, clarifying what we have done. Yes. But please with the mic, because I cannot.
So I don't know not a lot of things about Tantra. And when I listen to you, I talk to my mind, and my mind said, to deny the concept, it's another concept. It's a concept to deny the concept. And I'm quite lost about that. And can you repeat me again why this background is necessary? Because my mind wants to practice.
Yes, I know. I know that practice has to be based on some solid basis, And only practice, it can be also something very subjective or whatever. Now, the beauty of this tradition, and not only this tradition, any of these yoga or tantra texts, is that they are very clear in what is the framework in which these practices make sense. See, and where does it lead you? Where do you start from? Where does it lead you? See, all the dharanas which come afterwards, they are very, very brief, extremely brief, and that's the whole problem, without commentary. But unless you have that background, what are you looking for? And what do you want to realize by these practices? And that is why admitting that we have so much of knowledge, we have so much of already accumulated ideas and so on, and then we have to remove all this, and then we have to start with the practice, and then. But I think it has to be in a framework where, like he says, Kshemaraja says, you are ready to enter into that absorption into the ultimate state. This is a beautiful expression. So unless you have some idea of where this ultimate state and how to reach there, otherwise it's a little, can be a bit vague. But these texts, the Tantras themselves, and then the commentators, they are very balanced between also intellectual clarity and mystical depth. And this is what we can really learn. To combine, all these people who say, no, I only want practice, I'm not interested in all this. But I think it's very one-sided, because we are also intelligent beings. And these authors, they had a great insight. But it's not a philosophy detached from experience. On the contrary, it comes out of experience. And it leads you back there. So just hold on. I think you reserve your questions when we are actually coming to the practical part.